This is the spring gardening opening up May 24th, 2024. I've had to put up these aluminum pans that I saved and their lids to ward off the crows, because crows are very curious and they migrate, and they're spending their spring right here in our area on their migration route. So they're going to pull up some things every now and then if you give them a chance to see if there's any cutworms under them. They're looking for cutworms to eat, and these pans keep them distracted. And if you look to the very end, down that trellis, that hooped up trellis, which is a cattle panel hooped over, you see an electric fence. And that's how I keep this garden from getting eaten up by deer, and keep the horses out, the goats out. As I do that solar panel fence, it's very easy to do. You don't have to have some elaborate web wire or anything else. Just put a strand of wire up where they can't get underneath it. And they won't know at first. They'll walk up to this white wire and they'll touch it or try to get under it. And they'll just say, "What is that?" They won't even know, They just think it's a piece of string. And they get zapped, they turn around and run. Since they can see that wire, they won't come back anywhere they see that wire. They're not going to jump over it because they don't know that it's the wire that did it. They just know that something shocked them right here and that wire was there. So they'll stay away from it. They don't jump it, they stay away. Now, it is different when you're putting an animal in a pen. They're going to try anything they can to get out. They're going to jump, they're going to keep coming at it. But it's just not worth it to be exposed to that shock to get in here, even when the garden is lush. They don't do it. I've been doing this for 5 or 6 maybe years, and I've never had a deer cross it yet. Never will. They don't go across it. And as far as my beehives, when I have any troubles, I put one strand of wire on my bees, and that works too, to keep them safe, because animals aren't stupid. I mean, would you want to go through that? They don't want to get shocked. You don't have to go to all this trouble making 4 or 5 wire strands. Just make sure it's at the animal that you're trying to deter's chest height, because they're probably going to come at night and they're not going to see it very well. They're going to touch it and realize that's where they got shocked. They're going to stay away. It works so well that my dog won't even come out here in the garden with me anymore. When he knows I'm heading to the garden, he says, "I'm staying at the house. I'm not going to the garden." But these things keep crows away. What I'm growing is Burgess triple crop tomatoes. I save the seeds every year. Been saving them for 25 years or so. And they don't seem to cross up with any other kind of tomatoes. This isn't my only garden. This is my cultivated garden. You can't probably see too much of it. But this is my cultivated garden, and it's my best producer. I keep the weeds out of it the best I can. And I noticed that when you bulldoze land, there are certain kinds of plants that grow there after that, and that disturb soil. They didn't grow there when it wasn't disturbed. And I think vegetables are like that. They seem to like a disturbed soil. A lot of old timers told me that it's good to take a hoe and kind of aerate the soil around the roots of a plant while you get the weeds out. And they used to keep theirs cultivated with a hoe, keeping their hoe shiny all the time. Well, I was going to get a very famous wheel hoe that is really promoted and given to a lot of YouTubers. And it's called, well, I'm not even going to say, but it's made with wooden handles, and it's heavy, and you can't just leave it out in the rain because of the wooden handles and stuff. But I ended up getting this one here, and I really like it. I leave it out in the rain and all that. Works real good to get the weeds out. It's very light, and all the tools attach on one little bar you hook on. You take all the tools with you. Can't do that with the other one. I just prefer it because it'll last forever. The other one won't. Wood doesn't last forever outside for sure. So that's all I got to show you. Just this garden. The other one I got, I call it a Ruth Stout garden because she gave me the idea. One of the first gardening books I ever read when I was a child was How to Have a Garden Without an Aching Back. And I was a kid thinking, aching back? I've never had an aching back, but the book was extremely interesting. And there were several more at a garage sale. I picked those up. So I really liked Ruth Stout. And I noticed now a lot of people are doing that, but they haven't worked out very well for me, the Ruth Stout gardens. Every year that I make one, we never get any rain much in the summer anymore. And if you don't water them, they don't, the rain never gets enough to penetrate through those 2 or 3 inches of mulch that it requires to keep the weeds down. Actually, about 6 inches of mulch to keep the weeds down. And a ½ inch of rain every few weeks doesn't work to get through that mulch. But it does when you got bare soil here. A ½ inch of rain will actually water the garden. However, we haven't had a ½ inch of rain here. It's, like I said, May 24th, and we haven't had any rain. Well, oh my goodness, it's April 24th. I should start this video over again, but I don't feel like it. But it's April 24th, and we haven't had rain all April long. Last rain was sometime in March. It was a good rain. It was like 1.5 inches of rain, but nothing. You can tell by the soil. This is some dry soil, but I've been watering each row with those sprinkling cans over there. It takes me hours. I have to go to the pond and dip it out. And there were 2 moccasins in the pond, cottonmouths, snakes. I had to catch one of them and put it in the creek down there. I haven't been able to catch the other one, so I don't like going over there when it's dark and grabbing the water, but I like to water in the evening because it doesn't dry out as fast and it stays in there all night. Some people say it's best in the morning, but by 10 o'clock it's all dried out again, so I just put it on at night, and that way I think it works all day. I learned something about leeks. A friend of mine named Eric, he gave these to me, gave me the seeds. They actually make little shoots off to the side. See that? And if you harvest them, you can cut up here and take it, and it'll come back again. So you shouldn't dig them up because you'll lose these. So all leeks are actually perennial leeks. I didn't know that. And unfortunately, they've been exposed to extreme cold weather, down to 0. They still lived, but they're sending up a seed head, so I won't be able to eat that one. I'll save the seeds and replant them again. Doesn't look like we're going to have a wet year this year, though. It just doesn't. Looks like we're going to be really dry. I've never had to water in the springtime a whole month. Every day out here. And a week ago, it frosted. And that's what happened to the Moso, that big yellow patch of bamboo there. It came up and it froze back. So it's gone for the year. It won't be being tall ever again, probably. But Moso bamboo is really a bad bamboo for growing here, because that's Huzu right there. And you see, it's already as big as it used to be. 1 year, 4 years ago, it got below 0 and it killed it down too, but it survived and it's grown back. It's not even woke up to shoot yet. It's still sleeping. It knows to wait. See, different species of plants can tolerate cold better, like pomegranates. There's some that just can't take cold. Wonderful pomegranate, very common in stores, very productive, very beautiful, very red. It can't tolerate cold weather at all. I tried growing it from the stores with many, many seeds. But then I found a pomegranate named Salavatsky, and it seems to be able to grow really well, just because it's a different variety. And as far as pear trees go, some pear trees can't grow in certain regions because they get fire blight. But you can see this pear, it's got fruit on it, and it's not getting fire blight. But then I got other varieties of pears that continuously get fire blight. Like this tree right here with all these pears is the same age as this little tree right here. It just keeps dying from fire blight. And that one there's the same age too as that one. And those ones out there in the field, they are the same age as that one. They just can't tolerate fire blight. Fire blight is a bacterial disease that just hits them. They generally get it whenever they get too much fertilizer. Well, I have horses and they sometimes get very close to the trees and pee. And pee is loaded with nitrogen. And that's what gives them fire blight. But that tree there is not susceptible to fire blight, so it doesn't matter. And neither is that one. And neither are those two over there. Well, that one was. I put fertilizer on that one, unfortunately. Just, I have to keep on proving to myself that I've learned something. And I did learn it's definitely that. And I didn't teach it to myself. I learned it from a 1940 organic gardening book. People were getting into that way back then. Very good book. It's a Carpathian walnut. They promised me they were able to take anything, cold weather, bear like crazy. Well, it's 25 years old. I had about 7 of them. Now I've got 2 left, and I've never got a walnut off of them yet. They just keep dying out. It's not the cold that kills them. It's probably the dry conditions. See, our only clouds we have nowadays are made by aircraft. They just put these clouds up and it just hazes out the sky, and it's pollution. It seems to stop it from raining for sure. But it's not been a good year so far. I could complain though. I could complain worse. I'm glad we didn't get a really deep freeze now yet. I think it's over for that. What you're seeing in the pond with the pretty flowers there, that's what I water from. That's Siberian iris is the blue flowers, and the yellow flowers are yellow flag. I wonder if I got that water moccasin showing itself yet so I can grab it and take it to the creek. I really don't like stepping in here and getting my water. It's kind of dangerous. I can't see him. But funny thing is, I know that the water moccasin sees me when I go in there. Doesn't want to hurt me, but if I accidentally step on it, I'm going to get it. This big old giant tree right here, this is a cypress. Well, there's several types of cypress. Some of them have gray, smooth bark, pretty smooth bark. This one here has got really red bark. Looks like a sequoia. This gigantic tree right here, it's only about, I'd say it's only about 15 or 16 years old. And it's way bigger than the pine trees planted at the same time. A lot better wood. That down there is a broadleaf stinging nettle. You don't want to walk through that in shorts. And this is a bagworm. It's already been eaten by something. Off to the side there, some predator got it. That hole in the side. They would hatch out the bottom. There's plenty of predators because there's a lot of diversity. If you plant a lot of different kinds of things, a lot of pollinating plants with lots of flowers for ladybugs to eat, things like that. I think they eat pollen when they're in some stage of their life. I'm not sure, but maybe not. I know they love aphids and mealybugs and scale insects. Things like that. I know that pond looks like a swamp. Another thing is, it's good to have a mess. If you want lizards and salamanders and wildlife, you don't want to clean it up too much. You need brush piles and stuff like that. And that's something about I don't like the new biochar movement. It's based on a lie that the rainforest was made by indigenous people who burnt it constantly. Well, the indigenous people have only been here 10,000 years max, maybe 15, and there wasn't enough of them to burn enough of that, and didn't really burn anyway because it was so wet all the time in those days. And the rainforest is millions of years old, and the animals like tapirs and all the monkey types and stuff, they've been here way longer than the indigenous people arrived living in that jungle. So I know that Terra Preta myth is wrong. It's a lie. I think it's just a PR psyop to get people to not mind the rainforest being burned off by the corporations. Here's a graph that I made last year. This right here is a pecan tree, and it bared tiny little nuts, about the size of a pinky. Weren't worth messing with. So I grafted a little stick on here and another little stick here, and it worked. But the one down here didn't work. So right now that's the graft stem coming up real tall, and that's just 1 year that it got that big. Looks real good. Let's wait until it rains, I hope. Then it'll start growing. It's certainly not growing like I want it to right now. I was hoping it would already be awake. Still looks green, but looks can be deceiving. I'll have to update you on that. Pretty sure that's a living shoot right there. Yep. I do have some living shoots. It's gonna be all right. I've been taking real good care of my bees to keep them from swarming. So most likely I don't have a swarm in the swarm trap. I'm gonna go give it a try and see if I do. These are pecan tassels. They're the male part. The female plant part will be up towards the tip, but they don't have the female and male on the same tree until later. Now this plant has a stage of male. This is a type 1 pecan tree. It has its males first. I think that's what it is. And then the other kinds over there have females first. They require type 1 and 2 to pollinate. You can't just grow the same exact kind when you graft them because they'll all have male flowers at the same time. So right now this one has all male flowers on the whole tree. And a couple of weeks from now it'll have all female flowers. Then the other ones will be able to get pollinated. Or be able to pollinate them. They're pollinating the other ones now. Okay, that's my swarm trap. It's 15 feet up. It usually always has bees in it. They come here a lot. Now that's a wasp. We don't want that in there. They are checking it out. This box is like a magic box. I put swarm traps everywhere. And this one always gets bees in about 2 weeks. But it's on its second week now, so if it doesn't get bees in the next couple of days. Well, I'm hearing a bee, and there's one up there looking. In the next couple of days, if it doesn't get bees in it, then it's because I'm doing such a good job keeping the swarms out of my hives.